Now, apart from these traditional resources, was there any unconventional strategy that worked wonders for you specifically? So, throughout all of those interviews, was there any particular moment that caught you off guard and you felt that you wouldn't be able to clear the interview or that you were on the verge of giving up? And if you did recover, which you did, how did you do it? Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Skill Sapiens podcast series, where we bring you the real, the raw, and inspiring journeys of MBA students who are changing the game one placement at a time. Today's episode is a part of our Crack the Case Consulting Chronicle series, where we dive into a story that's equal parts strategy, stamina, and a whole lot of self belief. Joining us is Kritika Bijalwan, who has secured a consulting role at GEP, and her story is one every consulting aspirant needs to hear. From the chaos of CV crafting to the clarity of client readiness. Kritika's journey is packed with prep rituals, mindset shifts, and the kind of insights that don't make it to LinkedIn posts. So let's rewind the hustle, decode the prep, and get inside the mind of someone who has truly cracked the code. Welcome, Kritika. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Reet. I'm happy to be here.
The feeling is very much mutual. So before we start the podcast, let us just take it to day one of your MBA journey at IMI New Delhi. Was consulting always on your radar, or did it sneak into your goals after a few coffee-fueled group studies and committee meetings?
Very honestly, even before MBA, I had this vision in mind that I have to have a consulting career. I have to go into consulting. And one thing that I was very sure of is that I'm pursuing MBA to be in consulting. But also there is a catch in here that as soon as I entered MBA, I was very well, I saw the reality over there. So it was not at that point I started thinking that is my aim okay, that I was only aiming for consulting, very honestly. And when I think about my past career, I had like stints a few, I had done a few stints. So when I look back at them, so they're very marketing oriented. And when I started thinking that I want to pursue a career in consulting, so I was very skeptical about my aim, goal. I was readjusting my goals and everything. But when I think about it, so consulting was always on my list. From the day I dreamt of MBA, I think I started dreaming of MBA because of consulting. So this was how it was before MBA.
That's really a very honest answer, and I think it makes us all believe that it's fine to consider your goals. It's fine to, adjust yourself, but if you have a clear vision, always stick to it, no matter what. All right.
Yes, yes.
So moving forward, how did you zero in on GEP? What stood out to you about the company, and why did you decide to go all in for GEP in specific?
Okay, so like just like I talked about that I wanted to go into consulting. I knew that I wanted to go into consulting before MBA. I also knew about GP before joining an MBA. So my cousin started his career with GP 10 years back, and I knew all the pros and cons about the company well before. So when I started thinking about joining a company, of course everyone targets Big Four, and also I also had that thing in mind. But GP was one amongst the company that when I entered in the college, I used to talk about it with my friends that what my plan is. I would get SIP in GEP and I would convert that into PPO. But unfortunately, I was not even shortlisted for the interview or shortlisted for the GEP when it came for the internship in our college. And that was a heartbreaking moment for me because I had literally planned this that I will go into GEP from internship, will convert PPO, will work hard, convert it into PPO, and would enjoy my second year. But I think it's all destiny, yet it was a full circle. So it's not like that when GP came in for the pre-placement pitch or anything, that was the time when I knew about it. No, I had it in my mind that it has to be GEP. And sometimes I also think that how can my fortune be so nice that I'm sitting like, and now I'm a GEP employee. Thinking about it makes like when I think about it the earlier time, so it just makes sense that it was a full circle around it. Even if I didn't get shortlist for the interview, I mean internship, I'm sorry, but I still made it through the final placements, and so that's how it was about GEP.
So, I really feel after this that you are a real life Arjuna. You would never lost sight of what you needed in life, and you actually made it. So, the stronger your belief was, the stronger your will was to prepare for it. Now
Yes.
that you started talking about preparation, and it's like this big black box that all MBA aspirants are really worried about. Guesstimates, consulting questions, case studies. How did you break it down for yourself? What was your strategy while preparing for the interview of a consulting company?
I mean, that's the toughest question I think that you would ask today. But I mean, you have mentioned it all, the case studies, mock drills, frameworks, guesstimates, everything. So, I would be very honest. I started my consulting preparation during internship. When we went for internship, so during the internship, I had work. I used to work and side by side prepare for my, consulting interviews and an interview in general, sitting in the office itself. So what I did was like, I had, because I was just starting, so of course I had downloaded all the consulting books of I am Ahmedabad, I am Bangalore, I am I our book, our case book was also very well defined, so I had downloaded all the books. I had drives saved with all the resources that I needed for the consulting preparation. But the main question was how to start, because I was, I was puzzled. I was overwhelmed with so many resources, so many YouTube videos that I was looking out for. But how I started was like, because I knew I'm not very good with numbers, so I didn't touch guesstimates in the starting. Where I started was with the cases, because I know that I'm good in that, because one year in the MBA has already passed and I knew where I stand. So, but I also didn't jump into the cases, unsolved cases directly. I started with the solved cases. So where I referred to was some YouTube videos, and also I used to follow Sarthak Verma and Career Edge on LinkedIn, and they used to post solved cases and guesstimates over there. So my daily aim, I know you would laugh at it, but my daily aim was only solving at least 2 to 3 cases. Only 2 to 3 cases, not more than that. And at that point, it was not even me who was solving. I was just reading how they have solved it, how they have structured it. Because that was the first time I realized, oh, this is how the case need to be solved. We need to ask question to the interviewer back and forth to solve a case. Because when in the starting, when I saw that it's just a single statement, oh, this is the case. Because in my MBA, I have seen 5 to 6 pages case, and when I saw that only single statement, but then I realized how we need to approach it, how we need to structure it, and how we need to put out our views, and how are we, I mean, breaking it down to the slightest possible thing that we can do. So that's how I started my preparation, but soon I have to give all in, right? So I had a peer group of 3 to 4 people that I met during MBA preparation, not in MBA. So I contacted them, and actually we contacted each other. And earlier we used to sit for group discussions and interview for colleges, but now we started sitting on the G Meet for these mock drills. So because of the time schedules and all, it was not very often, but there were a few times that we sat together, we prepared a case, we talked about guesstimates. And guesstimates was a topic that I feared a lot. I think I would say that please don't do this mistake like me, because I kept on procrastinating it. I'll do it later, I'll do it later, till the time I had the short list of GEP, and I still haven't prepared for guesstimates. So I think, but and side by side I was also going through the frameworks, all the frameworks. One thing that I would I mean advise you guys is that there are lots and lots of frameworks. So what happens is that at the end of the time we get uh, you know what do we say, we get drawn in those frameworks, and when a case comes to us, sometimes because we have learned so many frameworks, we start thinking, oh, this. No. So sometimes the case can be solved without any framework, with just your strategical thinking. So you need not to apply the framework always, but always framework should be handy, because they are the thing which gives you the structure. They, they are the, actually the frameworks are the things that helps your mind to think in that particular way, to help break down a problem into structure, and just not breaking it anywhere or anything. So please don't get drowned yourself in the frameworks, and don't get overwhelmed that, oh my god, there are so many frameworks, I have to learn them all, I have to know. At least do four frameworks, though those who are very basic frameworks, and every YouTube video tells them. I need not to tell you guys, I know, but very four basic frameworks if you'll do, I think you'll ace the case interviews. And when I talk about guesstimates, if you are fairing it like me, if you're not very good with numbers, no, no, don't fear, don't be scared. Just start with it, start with the YouTube videos and solved guesstimates, then go to the unsolved guesstimates, and you'll see the progress, and you'll be so happy about it, because it's so interesting when you start knowing it, how you have to break the problem. And I would say you won't be accurate till the very end. It's okay, you need not to be accurate, but you'll start, you know uh, gauging the problem, how you need to start, because the starting is very difficult, how you need to start with the guesstimate or the case. So this was all about my preparation, and at the end I would just say that don't procrastinate your preparation, because the toughest part is the starting. If you start, don't get overwhelmed about the things that it has, you have to solve a case, you have to solve a guesstimate or any puzzle. No, you just need to start. And I assure you that you'll start enjoying the process of the preparation, because when you solve a case, that satisfaction that dives in is extremely, you feel very happy about it. Oh, okay, that you're doing MBA in a good direction, you're thinking in the right direction. So start the preparation. Don't be scared with that. Yes.
That was a very detailed and proper answer that I think every consultant aspirant needs to know. You have definitely leveraged all of the possible resources, be it your peer group, be it your frameworks, be it resources, libraries from other colleges, and I think you perfectly nailed it. Now, apart from these traditional resources, was there any unconventional strategy that worked wonders for you specifically?
I think, just like I mentioned, that I was not very focused on the frameworks from the day one, and I'm not saying that you should not, you should not either. But because for personally for me, whenever I used to, you know, solve a case just with the framework, it becomes very difficult for me. Started becoming very difficult. I was not able to, break it down to the pieces. So I always kept frameworks aside. It's not like that I left them all over. No, I kept them aside, but I always approach the case as if, yes, this is my business, and I'm actually working for that. This was one unconventional way. And one thing that I was like that, I don't know that people prepare from LinkedIn, but I literally prepared from LinkedIn, from the few of the websites in the LinkedIn. I mean, the pages in the LinkedIn. I started preparing with that. So I think that's just a little bit unconventional. Even I suggested those pages to the people, those who asked me, and I think that's a very good start, because it was very brief and very apt for the person who was just starting with consulting preparation. So yeah.
Very aptly narrowed it down to two very unconventional methods that you used. And I think best was for me putting yourself in the shoes of the protagonist of every case. I really do
Yes.
believe that definitely makes it a hell lot easier for everybody. All right, thank you so much for that. And moving forward, what about the interview rounds that you had at GP? How many rounds were there? What kind of questions or themes were there to each of the interview rounds? Were they different? Were they same?
Okay, so we basically had four round of interviews at GP, and the fourth round was basically the HR questions and the HR round, and that round was just to see if you're actually a good fit, because I think they have already selected you prior to that. So, but the three rounds were very intense, very pressurizing, and it could it has to demand all of your energy, all of your mind, all of your structure, and all of your calmness. Because I know when I was sitting for the interview, and you know what happened, I had all the three rounds in a single day. My When I had given all those three rounds, at the end of the day, I it was just like that I have done gymming for at least 6 hours regular, continuous. It was that demanding. So that was that was for me. So you know what happens now when we talk about the theme of the all the three interviews. So it was bit different for me. Mostly what happens is like, in all the three interviews they ask you cases, guesstimates, more technical. I mean, they're more focused on the technical knowledge. But for me, they started with the CV. My first round was CV based. So they started with the CV. They asked me about my internships and the work experience that I had, and then they followed it with the puzzle. Now when I got to the second round was a case and a guesstimate round. The third round was also a case and a guesstimate round, and of also the few other questions related to the company, related to myself. Because when I say that they had already selected you post third round, this is why I say, because in the process of checking your technical knowledge, your structuring ability, they also, gauge your personality and how good fit of a person you are. All those things are gauged in all these three interviews, so you have to maintain the best possible version of yourself in all the three interviews. And the cases that they ask, I would say, those are very intense. I'm not saying they're very tough. They're intense in the sense that, because they they would make you feel that they are not satisfied with your answers. They would keep on asking you. They'll be like, and and so in one of the round, I think that was my second round, i was I was so, at the end of the day, like at the end of the interview, I was like, I'm sorry sir, this is the only thing that I could break it off. I cannot break it more than this. This is literally what I said. I said that, I'm sorry sir, I may be missing a few points, but this is I cannot go beyond that. And he started laughing and he said, no, you did very good. And then he asked me the guesstimates and everything. But don't lose your calm. Don't let your morale down all throughout the interview. And the theme would most probably be toggling around this only. They would definitely check your technical knowledge, but would pinch in the, that HR questions in between and behavioral questions in between. So be prepared. Don't have that mindset, okay, abhi to technical round hai, so we'll see about the HR question at the later stage of the interviews. So you have to be prepared well all in advance.
I really felt like I was living through one of those interviews when you briefly described about them. But I think you did go through a mental gymnasium, if not a physical one at least.
Yes.
For sure. So, throughout all of those interviews, was there any particular moment that caught you off guard and you felt that you wouldn't be able to clear the interview or that you were on the verge of giving up? And if you did recover, which you did, how did you do it?
100% yes, there was a moment. So, and it was in the first round itself, because I think because I was sitting for an actual interview after a very long time from the internship and all those things. So I was, just like I mentioned before in like the question, that you have to be well prepared in that month. But I did something very wrong. I had a mindset that, okay, in the first, second, third round of interview, they would definitely go with the technical question. I had prepared my HR and behavioral question, no doubt in that. Okay, I was very, I knew my CV in and out and everything, but I was not in the mindset that they would ask me these questions. And as soon as I entered the meeting, the interview, they starting bombarding me with a normal CV question, not even tough, very normal CV question. But I started fumbling, and it just kept going downhill. I mean, there's no right or wrong answers for the CV based questions, but what thing matters is the way you are communicating, the way you're giving the structured answers, and how confident you are in your answers. But I think all these three things were missing from me at that point of time. I mean, that's what I think. I don't know what interviewer thinks, and as soon as I was going downhill, they asked me a puzzle, and the puzzle was very easy in the hindsight, but due to the interview pressure and everything, I was not able to solve it. I went into all 10 directions and I started thinking about GP. Oh, so this is a geometric progression, this is a arithmetic progression, and everything. The interviewer had to stop me and he was like, Kritika, I'll repeat the question. And he repeated the puzzle. And I was like, Kritika, this is the only shot for GP. You were already going downhill, and now you won't be able to solve the puzzle. The only chance that you had to get into GP, you lost it. That's what I was thinking. But then suddenly I was like, you haven't lost it yet. Kritika, please try. And just like I started refocusing and took a deep breath, I got the answer of the puzzle. And I started laughing myself. And the interviewer also started laughing. I'm sorry, sir. I was thinking in the wrong direction. It's this. It was just a one line answer. I mean, I can't even tell you the puzzle because it was that easy. So let's not talk about that. But I think that was the moment I really thought that I wouldn't make it. And I cried just two times in the interview. One when I got the final selection, and for and this and the first time I cried was when I got the offer for the second round. I am in the shortlist for the second round. I was like, because I knew I couldn't make it to the first round, and I was like, okay, I lost the chance and all. But from the second to third round, I was very sure that I have to make it, because second round was very intense. It was super intense, but I knew that I tackled it well. I knew that I stood up there. But during the first round, I was very pessimistic about the things. But thankfully, it was not like that. I think what like you asked that how did I overcome that, the only thing that you need to have in your mind continuously is like, it's not over until it's over, until you get that rejection mail. You are the part of the process. So you have to do your best, you have to prepare well, you have to work good throughout the interview. Even if you are going downhill, it will happen, you would go. But as soon as you think about it, no, 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 pick up yourself, pick up yourself. And this actually happens. It's not a motivational speak or anything, but that actually happens. I know you guys have also been through interviews, and it happens with everyone. But please pick up yourself and don't give up, don't give in. Like so so that's the thing.
Very truly put together. I mean, I think inside this interview room, you are the only cheerleader you will have. So the only way to
Yes,
put yourself through it is just remember that you are the one handling it, not the other
yes,
way around.
yes, yes.
So you mentioned that there were quite a few HR questions as well. So how important do you think storytelling was also important in your interviews? Because it is a common notion that consulting interviews are all about your technical skills, your strategic skills. Was there any aspect of storytelling that you involved in your HR rounds or other rounds?
Yes, Arit, I mean, I'm very thankful that you asked this question, because this is a common notion. Even I had this notion that if you're sitting for a consulting interview, you have to be very sharp minded, you have to be very structured, and you need to think very fast. All these things, the technical knowledge have to be very sharp. But no, it's just like another interview where your behavioral question, where your HR questions, where your personality test plays as much as important role as your technical questions. You may not be the smartest in the room, and I assure you I was not the smartest in the room. But maybe combine it with the other things, that I had the calm, I was very prepared, well prepared with the behavioral question. And the one advantage that I had was, like, I think I had that clarity that I have to get it into GP. This is the company. Simple. So, that clarity always gave me the push to, even during the preparation, it gave me the push to work all hard, and even during interviews. So, they would ask you the behavioral and HR question. They would not ask you directly what is your strength and what is your weaknesses. But when you think about whatever question they put you in, right? The storytelling plays a very vital role, because that is the point where you need to tell your strength without them asking you. You need to tell them why you are a good fit for a company without them asking you, right? Like they asked me a question. I don't remember the exact question, but I knew I answered the question, but I combined all my knowledge. Like, yes, sir, I have experience in the customer relationship, so I would handle clients well. I had experience. I have handled foreign clients as well. So I there was no need to put, right, because it's all in my CV. But that's the time where storytelling plays a role, where you need to answer their question. You need not to, go in all direction and answer just like, अब मुझे अपनी सिर्फ strength बतानी है and that's all. No, it not has to be like that. You need to directly attack the question, but at the same time you need to mention your strength, weakness, or I mean what is appropriate for that question. So the storytelling plays a very, very vital role. Please come out of that notion that it tech consulting interviews just about technical. It is as much technical as behavioral and your personality aspects and your other knowledge as well. So you need to be very well prepared in all directions.
Very fair point. I think that, storytelling really helps an interview get to know you more as a person. And as we know that cultural fit is something that every company is really looking for nowadays. So thank you again for that, Siddhika. Now, with all of this preparation about consulting and GEP and case comms, how did you balance academics, committees, and your mental well-being as well during the peak placement chaos?
Ah, it was very tough. Okay, so the one advantage that I had was like I was very lucky enough. I was fortunate enough that I got placed even before the placement season started. GP was one of the first company that visited the campus, and thankfully, fortunately, I can't thank enough because I skipped those peak placement season. But but the semester, as soon as we came back into the college as a second year students, that was very tough on me because, as I told you, I started with my preparation during internship period and I had to keep that going. But as soon as I came into the college, everything messed up because I was a part of a committee and a society, and we were the only, and at that point of time we were the only one who need to manage this everything. We need to see in the juniors, we need, I mean, there are a lot and lot of works of committee and society, everyone of MBA people, right? We need it for the interviews, pitching the committee, so many work, so many work, and also the academics. So that particular term fourth, because we have trimester, so term fourth is as tough as term three, because we have that notion, right, that in second year the burdens comes less, but that term is bit on the tougher side, and especially for me because I opted for the six subjects, right, and those were financial derivatives and all those tough subjects, and to win the tougher side. And because I was very keen to have a good placement, because I didn't to perform very well in the internship, I didn't get chance to perform well. So I also, as soon as I entered the college, I signed up for a live project. I searched into the LinkedIn and I signed up for the live project. Now in my hand I had a live project, my academics, a committee, and a society, and my preparation. And my preparation was nowhere to be seen because I was all occupied in all of these things. Even the 15-minute breaks during our class, I was on a call with my client about the life project, and we used to work on that because I needed to enhance my CV, and I needed experience and all those things. So I think, I mean, it was very tough balancing all of these things. But the one thing that like a bit late but I started was like, even when I used to go for committee work or my society work, I used to carry my laptop with me, and I used to work for my life project at that point of time. So at least that work is completed. So when I come back in my room, I was very exhausted, and I'm not a very, you know very enthusiastic person that I would, after a very exhausted day, I would sit and then study. No, I could do that only for dance, but nothing else. So, and when but I had to, I my I mean, I have a very good friend circle in the college, but at that point of time, I literally cut off from them. It was not deliberately, but due to the, but because I needed to balance my preparation and everything, it came up automatically. The only time we used to meet were during classes, and that's a very big thing for us because we sit in the break, we sit in the recess time, post our sessions are over, and so many, like, we share so many of good time, but I had to cut off that time. So, and to focus on my preparation. So, that once I told you that my aim was 2 to 3 consulting cases a daily, I was not even able to solve 1 to 2 cases, but at least I would make sure that at least I have a look on 1 to 2 solved cases at least. So even on my phone, because LinkedIn is available on my phone, YouTube is available on our phone, so I don't need a laptop for that. So I made sure that at least I do this. And as I told you, I was not very good with numbers, so I used to learn tables as well to be very good with the calculation. So that's how I used to do, but it became a bit easy when I reached the next semester. So thankfully I missed that peak placement season, but I would still say the pressure, the anxiety were the same that I felt. And it may become very overwhelming, and you may become very anxious about the preparation and managing all the academics and everything. But I think the only way throughout is that you need to do at least very 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 little, but you need to you cannot break your habit. You have to have that habit that आपको आज अगर एक केस करना है तो करना है. Do only one case, it's okay, because your mind start thinking in that direction. But at least do it. Don't miss out on your preparation, because you know even if you don't look at the current scenarios, but the competition, everything, it's so high that only your continuous preparation can lead you to the success, nothing else. So that's the thing that I would like to say.
I really believe that, as rightly said, MBA journey is full of tough decisions, many tough decisions, and I strongly believe you made all those right decisions at the right time whenever needed. So, just one last question. What is one advice that you would like to give to every consulting aspirant right now? One sentence advice that you think would work wonders for everybody.
I think I have spoken a lot about it, and I've given a lot of advice in all the previous questions. One advice that I would like to give. I would only say be consistent with your preparation and don't be scared. Just begin. Because I know consulting as a word is very fancy and it is often perceived that it's only very intelligent people and a great IMs and IIT tags resumes would go there. No, you are equally, I mean, you have the equal opportunity to be in those companies like those people, but you have to be very consistent with your preparation and in the right direction. You just need not to do anything or everything. You need to be very particular. And in the starting, you may be very, you know, uh, I mean, you don't know what to prepare, or you can prepare anything that's not useful, but that's okay. That's the start. That's how you start. But soon you'll realize that this is not the thing that's useful for me, and this is the thing that's working for me and is useful for me. And soon you'll realize, and for this realization, you need to be consistent. You need to work hard. There's no skipping. You cannot just like you cannot be lucky enough to be in a company without working hard. At least थोड़ा बहुत तो करना ही पड़ता है. So that's
Very truly put together, and I think it's really relatable and relevant for everyone right now. That unfortunately brings us to the end of this super insightful episode with Kritika. And if there's one thing that we're taking away, it's that it does not end till it does. So thank you so
yes.
much, Kritika, for peeling the layers and sharing what really goes behind the journey to GEP.
Thank you so much, Reid. It was wonderful sharing my experience because I think GEP was the company that I was aspiring. And finally, when I am there in the company, I think there would be so many people like me who would think, because the internship period was very tough for me, right? So there would be so many people who would be in the same condition right now or may have faced the same condition. So I would just like to say that please don't give up. Don't be like me, because I literally gave up at the end of the first year. I was like, because of the competition or because there are so many good people in around here, I was thinking I'm not made for all of these. Maybe I'm not made for all of this. I'm not good enough, and so many demotivational thoughts coming up in my mind. But please, no internship will decide where you place and where you get placed, and even no placement decides your caliber. But the only thing that I would say is that work hard in the right direction. Have a aim. Have 2 3 aims. Don't be like me. I didn't have plan B. It was GP or nothing. but but I mean, have a plan B. Have but prepare in good direction. Prepare strategically, and don't be demotivated. So thank you, Reed, for giving me this platform, because I know there would be thousands of people like me who had not done well in internship, but still your path is open. You have to work hard, a bit work hard, and be in the right direction. That's it.
Thank you once again, Kritika.
Thank you so much.
And to all our listeners, whether you're preparing for interviews or still discovering your path, remember every case you solve is also a case you're building for yourself. Stay curious, stay strategic. Until next time, this is your host, Sri Tarura, signing off. See you next time.